right, this is take 2 because I don't know how to get to the fucking point with anything. I've scripted this. I might be looking down at my computer. I'm trying to make it look as natural as possible, but that also just might not be possible because my computer's in my lap. My phone is here. I'm in a public area. I've had so many cars drive by and so many people walk by the last time, and it was just like so distracting and so awkward. I've got to find a less public place to try and do these things because I'm getting in my own head and it's impossible to do them in my house. Anyway, hi guys. If you're new here, I am Angela. I am documenting my quest to become a muscle mom through the ups and downs of regular life, okay? What you're going to get here is very raw. It's an unaesthetic look into the journey that I am on. If any of that sounds like something you're interested in, I would love for you to subscribe and follow along. And if you're on your own journey, comment below because I want to cheer you on. We all need a little bit of cheerleading in our life, right? I wanted to shower today. I showered last night, but I did not wash my hair. And I wanted to look semi-decent, but I knew that if I it's adding another barrier to me getting this done. I have tried and failed so many times in my life to do a YouTube thing. It's something I've always loved doing and wanted to keep on the path of doing, but nothing's ever stuck. And it's like a metaphor for my whole life right now. I'm removing obstacles because I've always done it has to be perfect or not. What's the point if it's not perfect? No, we're not doing that anymore, honey. It is doing something is better than doing none of it at all. And expecting it all to be perfect is a good path to get you to do nothing at all. It's a good way to have an excuse to not get shit done. So this is it. You know, it's been 90 degrees where I live today, and the last few days have been brutally hot. My hair looks insane. I'm trying to grow my bangs out. And my baby hairs are just off the fucking wall. So that's why I look like Rosie the Riveter. Yeah, so you guys are going to get what you get. And it's likely going to always be the most authentic version of me, which means my hair is probably not washed. It's probably in the mom bun. And I'm going to cover it all up with either a headband or my headphones or both. Anyway, a little update if you're not new here. Regarding my knee. So last night I went and got the MRI, and because I'm impatient, when they uploaded the results into the chart, I had to take it out of there and plug it into ChatGPT to translate it. And don't yell at me for using AI, or do yell at me. I don't know. Write it in the comments below. Listen, I've got my issues with AI. I don't really use it very often, but I'm very impatient. I feel like I've been waiting for weeks, months at this point to figure out what the fuck is going on with my knees. And it has put a cramp in everything I've been working on these past few months. And so I'll get more clarification and a deeper description when I go to see the doctors next week, and you'll get that update then. I do have a lateral tear in my meniscus. Apparently it's very small. It says it's in the red zone, which I guess means that it's a vascular area, which means blood flow gets to it, and it's actually a spot that can heal easily. So if you were to get injured, this is the best place to have that injury, because it is the most likely to heal. So to me, what that means is likely no surgery. But the other thing that was in my results was that my knees aren't tracking the way that they should be. There's wear patterns from my knees tracking incorrectly, which I think, like I said, I'm not a doctor.
I'm not a rapper.
I think that could explain the snapping, popping, muscle guarding, the just feeling like things aren't lining up right. I remember specifically saying that to my physical therapist last summer, that things just didn't feel right. And we worked on the IT band stuff, but I don't think I ever got a formal diagnosis of exactly why those things were happening. So I'm hoping maybe that's why, because if that's not why, I really have no freaking clue as to why I'm having so much trouble with my knees right now. Anyway, well, on the note of ChatGPT, we're going to talk a little bit about AI for today's video. Like I said, I scripted it. I'm going to be looking at my computer a lot, and I'm really sorry if that's off-putting, and if you don't like it, you don't have to stay. Oh, wow, I just realized that I'm filming and got a big wheel back there. This is the first video in my series of kind of where things began. Yes, I'll take you all the way back to middle school for just a brief moment. It won't be for long. I'm not going to give you my whole life story. But, I feel like just like most American, if not Western women, we're all a victim of diet culture, especially millennials from before it was even called that. We didn't call it diet culture. It was just like people were obsessed with you being thin. That was the thing. And that's coming back now, but that can F right off. We're not about that here. We're not doing that ever again. My body type was never built to be that thin, but I didn't know that as a 13-year-old. So, because I was chunky, and it took me until like my mid-teens to like finish puberty and do that like slim down thing that I feel like happens to almost all teenagers, I thought I was just fat. I thought I was eating too much. So I would start the day off with a slim fast.
Slim Fast. It's got your vitamins, minerals, it's got your calcium, the nutrients that you need.
Slim Fast every day. Get healthy.
Then I would go to school. God, I would be starving before lunch. I remember that, like just being ravenous. And then I would go to the salad bar. I don't know if you've had lunch at an American high school. I don't know what it's like now, but 20 years ago, it wasn't that great. And then I would come home and like eat dinner. But that was my concept of like trying to lose weight and like be healthier. Even after I slimmed down, I just remember my whole life, especially like teens through my 20s, I've just never been comfortable in my body. I've never been happy with my body. I've never really, like, my obsession with trying to be small blinded to me to like the magical parts of being a woman and eventually like what it would do for me, which was grow my family inside of it, Ever since I became a mother, obviously my body and then my relationship to it did start to shift. It was still like frustration with gaining a lot of weight in my first pregnancy, especially because I was working a desk job at the time. So I'm like kind of irritated with how much I've gained, but I'm also like in awe of the fact that I'm growing a human inside of me. Then I kind of had like a whole downfall after the baby was born because turns out I have a condition, which I found out later, but at the time with a brand new baby, I didn't know. I can't produce like a full supply of breast milk. And so I failed at breastfeeding. So I'm mad at my body for that. And then I'm just like feeling frumpy and dumpy and just really like struggling. And then, I go through the roller coaster. I get on Weight Watchers. I lose all the baby weight, like immediately get pregnant the first month we try. By the time my second baby was just about 2, I decided I wanted to have one more. This is it. My last baby. 3, done. No more. I'm also going to do everything in my power to breastfeed because I wanted to have like a successful, like end on a good note. I was able to make like half of a supply for him. But I've heard a lot of women talk about like losing weight during breastfeeding because you're producing milk and you're burning massive calories, right? Unfortunately for me, I was a bottomless pit and I gained like 15 pounds. And then I weaned when he was about 8 months old. I did end up losing all of the weight that I had gained through breastfeeding. So I got back down to like my first postpartum weight. And then it just kind of stopped. Like I was trying, but it was all the old stuff that I had done in the past just really wasn't working. The calorie tracking and the intermittent fasting, like it wasn't doing what it had done for me before I had children. All right, so at this point, my knees are achy, right? I'm done breastfeeding. I decide I'm going to shed the weight. I lose all of the weight that I had gained from breastfeeding, but then like the scale just froze completely. I'm not kidding. I was going back and forth between like the same 3 to 5 pounds. I would go up, I would go down. I would track everything I ate. I was eating in what I thought was like an appropriate deficit for me, not too extreme. It's like 1,800 calories, 1,600 calories. That's extreme for me, turns out. But we'll get to that later. So I would do that. I would track for 2 weeks, weigh in on weigh-in day, and the scale wouldn't have budged, or it may have gone up. And I would be pissed, and I would throw in the towel, and I would go eat a bunch of shit at a fast food place that night. And then I would weigh in the next morning out of morbid curiosity, and somehow the scale would have dropped 2 pounds. What on God's green earth is going on with my body right now? How could I eat good and be in a deficit for 2 weeks and gain weight or be stuck? And then I would eat a bunch of trash and it would just drop. And like I understood water weight, but I'm thinking I just ate fast food with a bunch of sodium and carbs in it, so my weight should be up right now. I just was like, I hit a wall. I stopped trying for a little while. I ate what I wanted. I didn't write any of it down. I didn't weigh any of it. I didn't try to stick to any type of intermittent fasting schedule or any of it. I just stopped. And then one day last summer, right about a year ago now, I went to put the baby down, as I spoke about in a previous video, for his nap. I leaned over, laid him down, stood back up. As I stood up, my left knee pops and pain shoots up and down my leg, and it's just like radiating out. And I limp my way back downstairs, and I'm just like on and off from resting, good and bad days. It's still just like really bugging me after a couple of weeks. So I go to the doctor. She, of course, refers me to physical therapy. I go through that, get pretty well healed up from it, released from PT, and this would be August last year. And I am just trying to figure out, what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to lose weight? Where am I going to even start? I knew at that point I had to deal with it, because I just don't want to spend my life in pain. There's so many things I want to do. And a big thing for me is being able to keep pace with my kids and like enjoy life beside them, but also enjoy doing the things that I want to do. I want to travel, and I don't want to have to limit what I'm doing on those trips because my body is in pain. I can't accept that. At this point, it's late summer, early fall. I'm trying to figure out where to start. You know, I had listened to so many different health geared podcasts. I've read books. I watch YouTube videos, you name it. And a lot of it boils down to you have to get into a deficit, right? But we just go in blind trying to figure out what that deficit is. There are calculators on the internet that will help you find your TDEE, your total daily energy expenditure. And I just went back to one of those. I was like, I'll just plug in my information. I never know what to put for activity level. I always say like low to moderate or whatever. Spoiler alert, that's not correct. I do a lot of movement throughout the day, but you know, I get a number out of it. And I think it was like for cutting for me, it had said 1,700 calories. So that's what I'm trying to do. That was my new daily goal. I was going to try and stick to this deficit and maybe start working in some fitness. But first I was focusing on food. So going with the number that I had determined through this calculator, I started to have some success again for a little while until it froze. That would have been probably September and October. November rolls around and I'm just still dealing with like bouncing between these same 5 pounds, even though I'm being way more intentional about tracking things. And I'm just getting so frustrated. I don't know what voice in my head told me to just get on ChatGPT. I'd barely used it. It pissed me off when I had tried. I have my qualms with it. I don't love students using it in schools. I don't love how it's removing people's desire to think for themselves or to think critically. I don't like that it's used to scam people. I don't like that it is attacking creativity and art. I don't love the data center situation, you know, and I know that that's not even just AI. A lot of that has to do with all of the stuff we do on the internet is the data center stuff, but I don't love what that's doing to communities. I've made it a point to avoid it pretty much up until this point. The couple times I'd used it before that, I wasn't impressed. But something in me said, try to figure out how many calories you need. Ask ChatGPT. So I have a Renpho scale, which is just a brand of like bioimpedance scale to tell you like, you know, how much is muscle, how much is fat, how much is water, bone, blah, blah, blah. I just don't know what came over me. I listened to the voice, I guess. I take a screenshot of my like most recent Renpho weigh-in in the app and I post it into ChatGPT. And I say, can you tell me what my TDEE is based off of this screenshot from my Renpho weigh-in? I asked it to help estimate something more accurate than what the other shit on the internet was telling me to do. The number I got for cutting was significantly higher than what I had gotten when I did it myself. So the number of calories I had been aiming to eat based on the internet calculator I'd used was significantly lower than what ChatGPT had come back to me with based on this one piece of information that I gave it, this one little screenshot with my metrics. And after that, something kind of clicked and I started to wonder what I could learn if I tracked metrics about my own body and started treating this like a science experiment instead of like an emotionally charged, ambiguous goal of like some number. Like, the wrong number, the number on the scale, right? How could I help my body get what it needed and to grow in strength and recomp into a stronger physique that is way more capable of all the things I want to accomplish, right? How can I achieve that? How can I listen to my body to give it exactly what it needs, instead of listening to some generic advice off of the internet, like calories in versus calories out, and just get in a deficit? Because as I came to find out, there's a lot more nuance to all of this. This has gotten really long. I'm going to end this here. So in the next video, my plan is to kind of break down why eat less and move more wasn't really working for me, and how my estimated TDEE from the calculator ended up being so far off. And then what changed when I stopped fighting my body and I started like learning how to understand what it needed by tracking a lot of information for 4 months. If you've stayed this long, thank you. Thank you so much. Hopefully in the next video, I'll have an update for you about what the doctors say about my knees. All right. Thank you guys so much for being here. I love you so much. I've got nothing else to say except for smash the like button, hit subscribe, leave me a comment, and tell me about your journey that you're on. All right. I love you.